Less than one per year. According to the CDC, there have been 0 cases of human-related deaths due to cats in Florida since 1960, the earliest published data, which is over 50 years. According to the Florida Department of Health, there have been only 14 cases of toxoplasmosis in Hillsborough County in the last 10 years, significantly less than 1% of the population. According to Hillsborough County Animal Services, there were 984 dog bites, 228 cat bites in FY12. Dogs are more than 4 times more likely to bite than cats. There's a small minority that wants to eliminate all risks. In order to do that, we have to wipe out the dog and cat species. Second, is the largest trap neuter return nonprofit in Hillsborough County. We want to communicate how TNR really works. Cats are already out there. Nobody's suggesting we add more cats. A sterilized and vaccinated cat is better than an untreated cat. Cats live where they can survive, which is usually with a colony caretaker. Caretakers provide food and water daily and monitor the colonies. When TNR is done, the cats are returned to where they were trapped. Once the cats are sterilized, the mating behavior stops. Neighbors are happier because there's less fighting, howling, and roaming. And most importantly, the cats stop producing more homeless kittens. Thank you very much.
And I'm also the Director of Development of the Humane Society of Tampa Bay. Nobody wants cats to be feral. We all would prefer to see every cat in a loving home, but that's not realistic. Humans domesticated cats, brought them into their homes, and opened the door and let them multiply. It wasn't you, it wasn't me. But we still have a responsibility as a community to fix this problem, and the only way to do that is through trap, neuter, vaccinate, return. Trap and kill does not work, and the public will not abide by mass murder of these creatures, and people will always feed a skinny cat that shows up on the doorstep. It's just human nature. Let's not step back in time to 2006, when we were killing more than 18,000 cats a year. That's 70 dead cats a day. A horrible image. Today, it's down to 33 cats a day. It's better, but it's still too many dead cats. Please support Lead the Way Home. It is a viable compromise and a good place to start. We've handled the feral cat population the same way for many, many years, and it is time for a change. Thank you.
Good morning, Pam Becker, 3607 North Armenia Avenue. I'm employed at the Humane Society of Tampa Bay, and today I'm here to speak on behalf of our Executive Director, Sherry Silk. She's very ill and unable to be here. Excuse me, I assure you she would be here if she could. As a point of reference, HSTB has been partnering with Animal Services since 2007 to reduce euthanasia in our county. Ever since then, we've transferred more animals from Animal Services than all rescue groups combined. The rescues do a wonderful job, but our transfer program with Animal Services has been a core program for the past 5 years, to the tune of saving 6,591 dogs and cats. Additionally, we sell more license tags than all other clinics. Last year, we sold over 7,000 tags at our shelter and clinic, which helps fund Animal Services programs. I just wanted to let you know this to show that we have a lot of skin in the game to help animals. We fully support Ian's plan. Frankly, we wish that we could save more than 2,000 cats in this pilot program, but we do understand why Ian chose a smaller number. Last year, over 8,000 cats died in Animal Services. Certainly a county such as Hillsborough County can save more than 2,000. There are over 100 other communities that are going either no-kill or reducing their euthanasia rates. They all have such a program, and it works. We ask that you vote on implementing this program and let's start saving lives. You can't just reach big numbers without the trash in your return program. Let me briefly clarify for some people that the magical number of 2,000 is not about adding an extra bunch of cats to our community. These cats already live here. They already exist. They're living in our communities with us. We want to prevent these cats from being needlessly killed. They have as much right to live here as you and I do. Please vote yes for this program. Thank you.
Frank Hamilton, Janet Garlick. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. I'm Cassie Unruh, journalist, animal advocate, author, 2413 Bayshore. Years ago, I encountered free-roaming cats in the Bahamas. They were begging in the restaurants, they were wandering along the streets, they were prowling the trash sites. I saw kittens starving to death. I learned that residents had tried to control the cat population by shooting, poisoning, drowning. Nothing had worked. We introduced TNR in the Bahamas. We set up feeding stations for the cats. A decade later, many are enjoying their long, healthy lives. Many are dying of old age. This is a case study in the efficacy of TNR and refutes some of the frequently heard arguments against it, that free-roaming cats are avid hunters, endangering other wildlife populations. Cats are opportunistic feeders. They take the food that comes easiest. Thus, TNR with feeding greatly reduces hunting behavior. In the Bahamas, the cats won't even go after the baby chicks that are walking in front of them. And you practically have to pay a cat to stop lounging around its feeding station long enough to go catch a rat. And what about the birds that are so grievously impacted? The widely cited Smithsonian study is extrapolated from 21 surveys in the U.S. and Europe and has a margin of error in the millions. It's guesswork. Some show that when cat hunt, birds are not the first preference. Rodents are easier prey. Diet analysis shows that when cats do prey on birds, the targets are spread across species, thus posing no substantial threat to any one species. Targets tend to be the most common birds, not migratory birds, touching down briefly. Many rodents prey on birds. Skunks, squirrels, and raccoons are among them. When cats reduce the rodent numbers, they reduce the number of bird predators. A study on Amsterdam Island in the Indian Ocean showed what can happen when you take cats out of the ecosystem. The cats were removed, the rodent population spiked, the plethora of island rats and mice then ate the birds. Cat advocates are generally for all animals being allowed to live out their natural lives. We don't talk about controlling or killing owls, hawks, egrets, herons, the various birds who prey on small animals, including felines. Thank you.
Frank Hamilton, Janet Arley, Dr. Eli Rose.
Good morning, Frank Hamilton, PhD, 8617 Best Court, Odessa, Florida. I've spent 17 years studying these issues, and interestingly enough, from 97 to 2012, we, the taxpayer, have spent $103 million on animal control in Hillsborough County. During that time, we have euthanized 68,000 animals, or 80% of the animals going in the front door. Now, what's interesting is, when people come up and talk to you about science, there is no peer-reviewed science anywhere that says that catch and kill works, but we keep on doing it. Why? Interestingly enough, after 17 years, finally this county has a plan, which you can see is on the shirt. 17 years it took us to have a plan. We've got one now. Now, there are some naysayers out there who say, you know what, we're not looking at things. We're not looking at the science. I'll tell you what we're not looking at. We're not looking at 97 communities that have already figured out how to save 90% of their animals. We're not looking at the University of Florida Vet School, the Auburn Vet School, Cornell Vet School, the University of California, Davis Vet School, who are all practicing TNR at a large scale. We're also not looking at the approximately 330 communities in the United States that have sanctioned TNR already. It's being done. And when somebody shows you the peer-reviewed science, there's peer-reviewed science on both sides. I can bring up 10 studies that show you TNR works in reducing the numbers, which is the object of why we have animal control. Thank you very much.
My name is Eli Rose, medical doctor, board certified in OBGYN, 3905 East Eden Rock Circle, Tampa, Florida. It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, you can tell the moral character of any country by the way it treats its animals. We are the stewards of this earth, and as such, stewards of the animals of this earth. We have an obligation to those feral cats that are out there. They're there whether we want them to be there or not. But there's no reason to kill them. That is not going to decrease the feral population. Only by sterilizing them is it going to decrease the population. And that's what TNR does. It sterilizes these animals. For anybody to suggest that feral cats is a huge disease producer in Hillsborough County only has to watch the news at night. When you see something about rabies, it's never about feral cats. It's about dogs, it's about raccoons, it's about other animals that are found in the county. And in my 30-plus years in OBGYN, I've never seen a case of toxoplasmosis, nor heard of it from other hospitals. And as OBGYN, we have a very close-knit organization. We hear about disasters not only in our hospital, but in other hospitals. And a baby with toxoplasmosis would be considered a disaster. You need to vote yes for TNR. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rose. Hillary Clark, Betsy Coble.
Good morning. My name is Janine Cohen. I'm an attorney here in Tampa, Florida. 8875 Hidden River Parkway, Tampa, Florida. Now, I'm an attorney during the day, and at night, as a volunteer, I'm the co-director of one of your cat rescues in Tampa, Cat Crusaders. What I'm handing out, because when I think someone stands up in front of you and says they're in rescue and they work with animal services, you should actually get to see the numbers. So I'm handing out the numbers from Hillsborough County Animal Services from April 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013. The first page is Humane Society. They pull far more animals than the rest of the rescues. However, when you look at the rest of the rescues, it's detailed in the remaining pages. I'm in front of you on behalf of not just my rescue, Cat Crusaders, but I'm speaking also for St. Francis, Florida English Bulldog Rescue, Labor of Love, Pet Pal, Kitty Cat Connection. Those groups represent 70% of the cats transferred to rescue, and they are asking that you support this plan. Of the dog rescues, because I think when someone stands in front of you and says, I'm in rescue and I work in animal services, again, we need to look at the numbers. Florida Big Dog Rescues, Guardian Angels, and Pet Pal asked me to also tell you that they support this plan. They represent 48% of the animals transferred to rescue. These are the people that, in general, help more people and more animals in the community than we pull from animal services. We do both, but we're fighting this fight. We didn't create the problem. We're trying to find a solution for it. Please support Ian's plan and vote yes.
Thank you, Ms. Coble. Betsy.
Or against trap, neuter, and return. Today, I am speaking on behalf, specifically on behalf of the following Hillsborough County veterinarians who do support TNR and Ian Hallett's plan. That would be Carla Bard, Barbara Beckett, Justin Borstein, Gary Camp, Lorraine Elwood, Elena Foley, Christine Glenn, myself, Danny Itwana, Lonnie Johnson, Michelle Lentovich, John McFarland, Katie Meyer, Reagan Rafala, Nathan Eden, Deirdre O'Malley, and Tina Bouchon. As veterinarians, we believe TNR is the most effective and humane way to stabilize the feral cat population by halting the breeding cycle. Since 2005, we've been conducting TNR at 2 low-cost, high-quality spay-neuter clinics. Our experience proves that TNR does work. We have neutered more than 95,000 cats, which have been returned to their colonies, where the majority live long, healthy lives. We've saved taxpayers thousands of dollars in sheltering and euthanasia costs by reducing the number of cats entering Tampa Bay animal shelters by 9,000 cats annually. As medical professionals who care about the welfare of cats, okay, please vote
Services or humane associations of many volunteering on their day off to spay and neuter. No one wants the cats to live outdoors. In an ideal world, they would all be inside on someone's lap. But the reality is there are an estimated 200,000 community cats and an equal number of outdoor pet cats. We have reached these numbers while engaged in a catch and kill method of population control, so obviously that is not working. Whether your interest lies in the sake of cats or wildlife or disease transmission, the method to decrease the exponential growth of these cats is TNR. The Hillsborough Animal Health Foundation proposed cat houses are absurd at best. Not even pet cats would tolerate a group of 10 to 25 in a 12 by 8 room, and certainly not feral fraidy cats. With no electricity, there will be no lights, air conditioning, heat. How can such an environment promote health, and how can we feed and clean them daily? With only 10 cats per shelter and 30 shelters, 300 cats would only be 0.15% of the population, and at $200 apiece, it would be $60,000 to care for 0.15%. Our new director, Mr. Allen, has the experience, knowledge, and skills necessary to reach our goals. That is why you hired him. Now we all need to help him use his expertise to allow Hillsborough County to reach the goal of decreasing the euthanasia rate while decreasing the population of community cats. Thank you.
You as commissioners have a hard decision to make, but it has not. I'm just shocked at some of the responses I've heard here this morning, because this is not what Manatee County has received at all. We've had a positive experience. We've worked well with our Humane Society. They do the TNR. I've had 2 citizens that came up to my level that have complained to me about feral cats. I've had no vets. I've been an RN since 1977, and I've never seen a case of toxoplasmosis. My husband is so good. So I'm just totally blown away at some of the stuff I'm hearing today. I just want you to know, as elected officials, this does work. And I please encourage you to please do this. The Humane Society is not going to be able to talk today, so I'm just going to read something real quick before my time's out. Manatee County, for example, first passed a TNR ordinance in 2006. Starting in 2008, intake of cats in Manatee County Animal Services was 3,500. By 2010, intakes of cats in Animal Services were 2,475. On April 1st, 2011, Animal Services entered an agreement with the Humane Society and Gulf Shore Animal League to trap, neuter, and return all feral cats instead of killing them, and the number of intakes dropped once again to 2,387. Even as euthanasia of cats was dramatically decreased, by 2012, less than 2,000 cats, actually 1,900 cats, entered Animal Services. From 3,500 to 1,900 in 4 years. TNR works, and the numbers don't lie. So I please ask you to approve this. Thank you.
Look at is the number of cat bites, and I put together a slide for that. Here, if you look at cat bites in Hillsborough County since fiscal year 08, it has steadily gone down. So cat bites would be an indicator of whether on a public safety side, whether we're seeing, adverse impacts or not. It does fluctuate some. If the population increases, you could see increases in that, but we certainly wouldn't want to see a spike in that.
And when there was some talk that these, by releasing these cats, there would seem to be an increase in disease, toxoplasmosis, et cetera, et cetera. But when we're trapping these cats, they're tested for several of these diseases, and if the cat is not healthy, then the cat is euthanized. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so, what specific diseases would the cat need to have before we make a determination to euthanize versus release?
We look for visual signs of illness, so hair loss indicative of mange, severely underweight, nutrition, tumors, upper respiratory signs. Unfortunately, just like pets that we adopt out, without extensive testing, which isn't financially feasible, you don't know whether they have liver issues or not, but that goes for any pet, including one that you get from a pet store.
Do you also look at the personality of the cat to see if that cat may be severely antisocial and at risk to biting people?
So the cat bite investigations at Hillsborough County Animal Services, that includes ones we quarantine as well as ones in the community, despite the fact that there are 3 times as many cats in the community, there are 1/3 the number of bites. And I think from personal experience, you can see that I've never walked down the road and had a cat run out and bite me. I am a cyclist. I've had a lot of dogs come out and bite me. So while in theory we want to treat cats and dogs exactly the same way, and that argument's put forth, the actual mechanics of it, they're very different creatures.
And just a couple more questions, and I'll wrap up. The not-for-profits that work in the other communities to implement the TNR type programs. Is the Humane Society, do we have enough of the organizations, or there's enough assistance here to be able to implement that? Or is that something that we have to build?
The capacity already exists, and there are also national granting agencies that support this program that provide additional funding. So, for example, in Jacksonville, the initial program was financed through Best Friends Animal Society, and afterwards, as they built the program, they were able to raise the funds through private donations to continue the program.
And then longer-term success. You mentioned that this is short-term. What have the other communities done, and what would you be looking to replicate to get longer-term success in the reduction of euthanasia?
Yeah. So in Austin, we were able to decrease the number of cats that went into this program by continuing to build adoption and rescue capacity. We were not able to eliminate it, but we were able to reduce it in size over time, and I think that will continue to happen here. The awareness of adoption and the plight of sheltering animal is more well known there. I think it's going to continue to grow here, and actually today is a big step towards increasing awareness of that issue.
Well, let me just close by saying I've spent a lot of time meeting with advocates on both sides of the program. They have both very interesting arguments. The one thing, though, that stuck out and that I found very compelling was the argument that was being used against TNR talked about releasing animals into the communities, causing problems, causing disease, causing this. But in fact, we're really not releasing animals in the community that aren't already there. So these are... So to say that we are creating a bigger problem and that there would be more disease, more cases of rabies, etc., I don't find to be valid, because we are taking, in fact, removing those unhealthy cats out of the community, or the ones potentially that could cause problems. And so if both sides advocate and want to make sure that we're reducing euthanasia, and if the option is to either trap, neuter, vaccinate, release, or trap, neuter, vaccinate, and contain, the question that hasn't been answered is who would actually care for the contained colonies, who would actually pay for the contained colonies, and the simple fact that that has never been implemented in any other community, I would feel more comfortable in doing something that has shown success and has proven success in other communities. So I'm going to stand here with you and support the plan that's on your table.
Commissioner Merman, and then I'll make some final comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ian, good plan. And I fully support it. I think it's the way to go. It's practical, it's common sense. It really is. This is about actually helping cats have healthier lives in the long run. I think it's definitely the more humane of all the plans that are out there. It's proven. It's been tested. If I talked to Dr. Levy at the University of Florida, though she can't speak for the university, she has done a lot of research on TNR colonies, not only in Gainesville, but in Orlando at the University of Central Florida. And she has a lot of good data and research that really points to how successful this can be in the field. And I think it's going to be cost effective. I just want to ask you something about your plan, that you've got quite a few recommendations in here and only $1.3 million. So I guess a lot of the recommendations actually have no cost next to them, and I know that you have downsized your staff. how are you going to accomplish all this with the skeleton staff you have right now? And is this $1.3 million realistic? I mean, should we be, looking at something that's, more realistic, I guess?
Well, I would be silly to be a director and say no to something, but honestly, I feel pretty confident about this number. I always proceed cautiously with budgets and like to take amount and squeeze every drop out of it and see how far we can get. I think this is a good amount to get us going for 2 years and to come back and assess where we're at. We're finding a lot of efficiency gains within the shelters based on myself and a new managing director and new supervisors from other shelters and clinics, and so we're finding a lot of efficiencies within the shelter. So staff is working hard, but I think we can give them some tools to be more effective with that hard work.
So you feel like you're adequately staffed?
With some additions, so I looked at other shelters and calculated with similar budgets and staffing levels as we currently have and looked at the number of live outcomes per employee, and I believe we can get from approximately 120 live outcomes per employee to 170 live outcomes per employee through efficiency gains, and then from there we basically have to divide the number of animals we want to save by that 170 figure. So, as confident as one can be, I'm confident with this. I am still working with the county administrator on budget issues, and we'll bring back, more specific numbers to you during the budget process. I want to keep this effort in the perspective of all the other things that the county wants to accomplish as well.
Okay, so I'll be looking forward to that. Measurable outcomes. You say it's only for 2 years. I didn't. Are they in here, this report? I didn't see them.
I put some projections in there in the beginning about where we might get to with each of these.
I mean, are you going to actually get specific about cats that are in shelter daily, public health threats, cats impounded and released, nuisance complaints, shelter adoption rates? Are you going to have things, or include things like this?
I present those each month to the Animal Advisory Committee, and I can provide those to your office as well. I've built a new set of statistics, but I need to add more to it on the field services side. One of the areas we do not currently have a measure for field response time. I hope to implement that and continue to improve field response time. So also customer satisfaction. I want to incorporate measures for not only our organization, but for each of our own performances with the public and among our staff and volunteers. So you're going to see a lot more measures coming out of us that it won't be restricted simply to live outcome.
Okay, so
we'll
I think that would be good information for us to get.
Correct.
Every
And
month.
we still track rabies. We've always tracked that, and we've been a major part of the health department's statistics on rabies in the community. We will be testing animals, dogs for heartworms, cats for feline leukemia and feline immunodeficiency virus. Some of the other diseases, for example, toxoplasmosis, requires a $60 test that has to be mailed out and takes several days to get results. So that's not financially feasible or practical for us to test for.
Are you going to vaccinate these cats when you sterilize them?
Yes, they will get one rabies vaccination. The USDA licensing trials, what they did during that is they took a group of cats and gave them no vaccination, another group of cats, and they gave them one vaccination. Then 4 years later, they came back, they injected both groups with a live rabies virus, and the group that was vaccinated with the rabies vaccine was 100% effective at 4 years out. So there is a good reason to believe that this rabies vaccination will serve them for some time, and if we come back to the argument of they're already out there, at least we have some out there that have a vaccination as opposed to no vaccination.
Okay. To wrap it up, I usually, on tough issues like this, I do a plus and minus, and the pluses definitely outweigh the minuses on this issue. I mean, it's from preventing overpopulation, I do believe these vaccinations will prevent disease. We're going to reduce our euthanasia and kill rate. We're going to encourage the public to identify cats, to trap and neuter them. We're going to reduce public complaints, hopefully, by taking care of these cats. I think we will hopefully see in the long run, a reduction in numbers of cats coming that are admitted to the shelter. I think that's part of the problem. I know in Austin, they reached a point where they couldn't accept any more cats. And I think hopefully this will do that, and that the sterilization really will prevent the spread of disease, roaming and fighting. And really the minuses are just, I think TNR, they say it would encourage people more to abandon cats, but, I think that's more of a plus for us, not a minus, because I think TNR will encourage people to be better caretakers for their animals in the long run. So I applaud you for bringing this forward. I know it's been a tough issue. Citizens, thank you so much for getting involved in this issue. This is, cats are near and dear to our hearts. I have a dog, so actually I kept looking at my dog while I was reading this information last night, and I kept saying, I'm glad you're not a cat. So anyway, no, thank you very much, and I wish you a lot of success, and I look forward to seeing the results.
Some comments on how I reached my position. The good news is that the number of animals leaving the shelter since 2007 has increased by 50%, and our euthanasia rate has declined by 52% since 2005. However, more than 12,000 animals are euthanized each year at our shelter, and 80% of the cats entering our shelter are killed. The live outcome or save rate stands at 37%. Cats, it's 20%. Simply put, the senseless killing of animals must stop. Euthanizing 63% of the animals in our shelter is completely unacceptable, and that's why a year ago I asked this board or county administration to study the best practices in order to successfully minimize euthanasia at our shelter. Because as I stated last May, I've yet to find one person who has stated that we should not have a goal of lowering our euthanasia rate, and that we should not attempt to save as many healthy, adoptable animals as we can. Ian, I want to thank you, the task force, and everyone who's participated in this process over the last year. I know that a lot of time and effort has been put into this initiative, and I thank those who have been so engaged in this critically important issue. It's a very comprehensive report. I like the goals. They're on target. I think they're within reach. I like that it recognizes the importance of building relationships with our stakeholders, strengthening our customer service, and then engaging the broader public is essential. If we're going to be successful at reaching our goals of minimizing euthanasia, increasing adoptions and rescues, and reducing the intake of animals into the shelter, it simply must be a community effort. There's a lot in the report, not enough time to go point by point. However, I want to say I like the emphasis on marketing and social media to increase awareness of the shelter's activities, improving our volunteer program, and becoming more technologically efficient. Excellent recommendations. As the commissioner who's championing the low-cost spay and neuter program, I fully support the recommended changes to maximize our targeted goal of 7,500 surgeries a year. This program has been extremely successful, and has contributed to a 41% decline in animal intake since 2005. I have heard of some additional ways to potentially make the program more efficient, and after we vote on the motion, I'm going to ask you a question and make a second motion. But most of the focus has been on the community cat program, so I just want to make a couple comments real quick, and then just when I'm finished, just ask you if it's accurate. If I'm making mistakes, let me know. It's a 2-year pilot, partner with nonprofits. The county is going to be responsible for the microchipping and blood test to check for disease. From a financial perspective, it costs the county approximately $20 per cat, compared to $100 to house a cat for 5 years or 5 days and then euthanize it. We'll target the program in specific areas of the county to prevent nuisance complaints and to monitor results to see if we're reducing intakes. This program will increase adoptions because of the labor and materials saved and the available space that can be utilized by not housing these cats will provide the remaining cats in the shelter additional time to be rescued or adopted. And then generally recognize that in order to that it would be impossible to reach a goal of even a 50% save rate within the next 5 to 10 years without some form of community cat program. And then by having this program with only 2,000 cats, we can improve our save rate by 20%. Are those comments?
Those are all correct.
Okay. I've always tried to find middle ground with folks, considering the concerns that have been reached. Is there any middle ground? Do you consider the proposal here middle ground with those that do have concerns?
I do, and we've debated this and kicked this around, and I don't think that more time or discussion will produce more of a middle ground than this.
Okay. Like everyone here, I've given this a lot of thought, but when you consider our goals to minimize euthanasia, increase shelter adoptions, reduce the intake of animals, while at the same time recognizing the potential risks that are out there, I come down to some of these comments have been made, but there's nothing new or novel about a TNR community cat program. I've read so many comments that if I didn't know any better, I would think that it's a new concept or program and that we're dumping new cats from another county into our community. That's not the case. They're currently in our community. This program stabilizes the cat population. It doesn't increase it. This practice has been performed here for many years. Going back to 2005, I've heard 40,000 numbers, I've heard 95,000 numbers. But I think one thing that you pointed out to me, that Animal Services has been tracking this since 2009, and since then only 500 have come back with a notched year. I mean, that is a statistical anomaly to have such a small percentage, and if these cats are supposed to be such a nuisance or a problem, isn't it accurate that we should see a much higher percentage?
That's correct.
Okay. Somewhere between 70 and 90 governments have a sanctioned program. It's been pointed out, University of Florida has been practicing this since 1998 and spayed and neutered more than 37,000 cats. So the question that I, again, keep coming back to, that if the science is so clear, why have all these communities and governments adopted a community cat program? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Not only is this program financially feasible, but it's far cheaper. I mean, it actually saves taxpayer dollars. It's 5 times more expensive to house a cat and kill it than it is from this program. This will allow us to reach a minimum kill rate by allowing more cats to be adopted. I believe this is a humane approach. It takes a bad situation and makes it better because it discontinues the breeding cycle. We're improving their conditions. We should recognize that adoption, rescue, and returning cats to their owners are our #1 priority. And I believe once we reach a certain level, we will not ultimately need a TNR program. It's not a perfect solution. It's not a long-term solution. But after studying the issue, I do believe it's a step in the right direction. Again, as I've stated before, the entire community will need to work together if we're going to reach our goals. I've said before, I do not know what the ideal save rate is, but I know that we can do better, and with this plan, we will do better. Live outcome rate of 80% for dogs and 70% for cats is a dramatic improvement of where we are today. So the comment I would ask regarding the motion is that you would, with it, we will require ordinance changes, and if you just include the county attorney to come back with the draft of the review, whatever needs to be made on the ordinance.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And again, thank everyone for coming down and participating in this process.
I would like to finish by thanking you all for the conversations we've had. I really want to thank the County Administrator's Office, County Attorneys, put in a lot of time with us. Ricardo Cox sat through all the meetings as well, providing guidance, and really want to thank the Animal Services Task Force an animal advisory committee. As a new director, I was given the opportunity for a year to learn about the community's needs and wants and concerns, and that was invaluable to me. And so I consider the task force to be a success. So thank you to all of them and all of you.
Well, thanks, Commissioner Chris. I'm going to make final comments, and we'll vote, and then I'm going to make a second motion. Commissioner Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It wasn't my intent to speak last. That's just I've been listening attentively and wrestling with this issue. As you know, I've had issues with this issue along the way, and I was listening today to see if some of the questions and concerns I had were followed up on, and unfortunately I didn't see that. You know, I've not been bitten by a feral cat either, but I'm not a squirrel or a bird. You know, right now what I'm feeling is I'm very pleased to see the advocacy that's here in the room, and I'm always grateful to citizens that are willing to advocate for what they believe in. But I'm not convinced that substituting the life of one cat for hundreds of other animals that would possibly lose their life is an adequate fix of the problem. You know, it's not a popular position to take, especially in a room looking at, 90% of the people here voting for and advocating for the opposite side of the issue, of which I am on right now. But I believe that senseless killing of animals needs to stop. I'm not convinced that we have done enough to cultivate a solution that is acceptable. And I have not heard enough today about the other wildlife that is at risk as a result of putting these animals who are not indigenous to our communities and our wetlands and our native habitat back into the wild. The position that, well, they were there to begin with and all we're doing is returning them to where they were, well, that's not quite true. They weren't there to begin with. They were actually in the hands of a senseless, inconsiderate pet owner. And I'm not sure that this will go far enough to encourage responsible pet ownership. So I still have concerns. I still do not believe that this is a fix to the problem, and I will be a no vote, probably the only no vote. But I will be leading the cause for the squirrels and the birds and the other indigenous animals who will lose their lives as a result of this decision.
Okay, we got a motion to approve Commissioner Sharp, second Commissioner Merman. Other comments, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Chris voted no.
Ian, go on. Folks, if you could please hold your applause. I've got one additional item. Ian, I've heard some comments regarding the spay and neuter program, that there are ways that we can make this program easier for the public to use and more efficient to administer. Is this accurate?
That's true, and I'd be interested in bringing this forward.
Okay, so I'm just going to pass the gavel and just make a motion that directing staff to come back with any recommendations on how we can improve that program as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hagan to have staff come back with further information on the trap and neuter program, seconded by Commissioner Beckner. Any further discussion? No? Please record your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay. Again, thank you everyone for coming down this morning. We appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Good job.